All right, let's do it. FSD version 13 drive. We're leaving our customer's house here in Seattle, and we're using FSD. This is the more wide release 13.2.1, and we're going to go up from Seattle to Snohomish to Summit Brewing, and we're going to do the Span panel kind of Christmas party. This is actually Tesla related because Span is a former Tesla engineers that started it with the idea that we're going to need load management, and we've been installing their electrical panels because not everybody has 200 amps at their home. And it works with people with 200 amps too. But let's say you do want an EV charger, and their panel will manage the loads, and they have a car charger and everything in their little ecosystem. And I really like it because, as unlike the Leviton panel, they just use generic breakers. So you can buy square D breakers and use it inside of their panel, and you don't have to buy a proprietary or yet another electrical breaker to carry on the truck. And they're not, the breakers themselves are easily obtainable at Home Depot or whatever. So if the breaker fails, which is very unlikely, but every now and then you do have a faulty breaker and you can easily replace it. The great part of this panel is, let's say you want to put a 48 amp car charger onto a 125 amp circuit or something like that. Well, you may not always be able to do that. We'd have to derate depending on how many loads are on the home. And with a Span panel, we don't have to do that anymore. We can put in a full-size car charger or 42 amps charging if we can only use Romex, less 6.2. But the panel is watching what's coming through or going into the house, and as it starts nearing the service limits, so if you have 200 amps, it's around 180. As it starts approaching its internal limit, it will tell the car charger to derate. It can also talk to Mitsubishi heat pumps now and either manage and prioritize loads. You can also have an app, so if you're using a Tesla Powerwall and you're on backup battery for some reason, you can deprioritize circuits. It's very intuitive system, and it's saving the consumer a lot of money. I had a customer here near Sandpoint area, 150 amp service, wanted to add a car charger and do some rewiring, and that was the panel's time to shine because it's an underground service, and the vault, so the vault would be where the transformer is located, is 5 doors down, and for me to pull new feeders that distance was not going to happen. All right, we're back. Sorry about the interruption. Got a phone call. We're still going to Snohomish and pick back up on Span. When you have that undersized panel and you can't easily change the service, this is the Span time to shine, because now you can replace the panel with a Span panel, put a 150 amp main breaker in it, and program the panel that it's got a 150 amp service here, and then load it up. And now you don't have a risk of blowing the main or flipping the main on an overload or Thanksgiving Day situation, and that's what we're trying to avoid. Or that's why they don't let you overload the service, basically, or you have to have that load calculation. And when you have a car charger, it's calculated in there at 100%, and it's a heavy continuous load. But when you have other items in the house like lighting or cooktops, ranges, you're given a diversity factor, i.e., just because there's a 50 amp range there, or 40 amps, sorry, you don't have to give it the full calculation. So it's easier to add things like mother-in-laws and things like that, because lighting loads are counted at a much lower than a continuous load like a car charger, and because car charger is a big heavy load, and like a lot of days I do a lot of driving for work in the Tesla, I can come home with 20% or 10%, where I've driven over 100, 200 miles running the heat, sitting in my car writing notes, things like that, and if you're doing that daily, you're taxing your service, because it's going to pull 48 amps from my house for, hours. Well, probably 5, 6, 7, 8 hours to fully charge. But it still gets it done. For most people, though, you don't need anything more than what would be a oven outlet. So about 5 kilowatts. So that's 24 amps charging, because most people drive 30 miles, 40 miles a day, and if you're in the cold, it's basically equivalent of a 50 mile on a clear day, or a hot day. You might drive 30 miles, but you're going to consume energy, and with the air conditioning, you got to add 10 to 20 miles for it. So, yeah, that's where SPAN comes really handy. And then what's really popular in Seattle is those mother-in-law additions, things like that. A lot of people are turning their basements into Airbnbs or rentals, things like that. Basically, put a heat pump, like a mini split system in, get rid of the furnace, remove all the ductwork, and now you can have a lot of extra square footage. But let's say that trench may cost $30,000 by the time you're done, and then you have to fix up all the dirt. When you do the backfill, you may have to tear up 5 people's yards to get there, or whatever have you. It's an expensive process that this 100% avoids. So yeah, SPAN is a winner. That's why we're going to the meeting. We've been installing them for several years now. Yeah, pretty popular product. I really like it. Super simple, or the app is super simple for the consumer and the installer. So when you go to set it up, a lot of just even heat pumps, things like that, it's all dip switch driven or binary. You push these buttons, get through these menus, and it drives you insane. Like, how are we in 2024 and we're still programming equipment like it's the early 90s, late 80s with the logic, dip switches, things like that. Thankfully, just recently started popping up with the newer American Standard furnaces. You just bring your phone close to it, and you can pair to the control board and set all of the parameters, like your airflow, your second stage delays, your outdoor unit tonnage. Everything is set up with the phone instead of going through these archaic menus. I mean, it worked, but just make it simple on everyone. Come on. And SPAN has done that. It's a beautiful design. They have thought of a lot. And I believe today is going to be the longest day, or tomorrow. So happy solstice, everyone. So now we've made it from Seattle through Shoreline. We're in Linwood, Washington. And this is just not complete bumper-to-bumper traffic, but it's semi-flowing orange. I guess it's going to turn red up ahead. But yeah, 3.8 miles of, even worse than that, to get to Everett and then get into Snohomish. while I was on the phone, we did have one mapping intervention. FSD wanted to turn left somewhere where we couldn't, but it was close to the other one, and it's not really an FSD issue. It's more of a mapping density issue. But I was able to just took control and went around it. These issues the kinks will be worked out because it can see when, hopefully, well, it's taking input from what the driver is doing. So if dozens of people experience the same thing, it will self-learn. That particular on-ramp to the freeway did exist. It wanted me to take the next one, but there was a road or entrance closed sign there. And we should be getting that fleet-wide detour system. I don't know if it's live yet. It was in the release notes, but I don't know if that's the one for the next update. So if roads are closed, the fleet will begin to learn about it and then adapt to those road closures on the fly. What would be awesome if you could take data from Waze that tells you where all the cops are. Let's take a look at what our cameras are seeing right now. Oh, pretty clear. Well, I was stopped at the last stop. I took a brush and I cleared off all the cameras, but that rear camera is starting to get curmudgeoned again. It's kind of inevitable in the rain. All right. Rarely do I see FSD change lanes left to pass without there being an exit involved. But turns out that was a good move. This is going to be like that episode of Seinfeld. You know, we're always driving along. He had that stand-up routine. We always are driving with that lane-changing expert. Always changes the lane. Oh yeah, like we're cruising over here. I'm a big Seinfeld fan, and then Curb Your Enthusiasm. What I want to see is Larry David film an episode of, if they continue the season, using FSD, because he was frustrated at Siri. I could only imagine how Larry David would be reacting to like FSD version 12.3.6, or the one when you had to touch the steering wheel. He'd be so pissed. Alright, we've made it to Everett. So just a little bit longer till we hit Snohomish, or in this case Highway 2 to make it to Snohomish. It's a small city east of Everett. Got a great distillery over there, Skip Rock Distillers. And to our left here will soon be the Boeing facilities. These are the largest freestanding structures I think ever built, where you don't actually have pylons in the building. I think Giga Texas might actually be bigger than the Everett factory, but because it's a factory that doesn't make planes, they have supports inside the structure. I don't know, don't quote me on it. I don't know if the mic picked it up, but that truck was really hitting the brakes hard. You could hear the tires screeching. That was off to my right. Well, like I've said, Tesla will solve autonomy before they solve the windshield wiper problem. All right, I'm gonna kill the feed for a second because this is gonna be 1.2 miles of boringness. All right, I got out of the exit queue and I had to take out the microphone, lavalier mic input, and put the charger on the camera because after using the camera for that long, we're just depleting. We're near depleting the battery. So now we're on Highway 2. While I took out the microphone, FSD got out of the queue lane, drove ahead, found a truck, and went in front of it. So she has a certain degree of impatience, let's put it that way. I'm very unfamiliar with this area. I don't go to Snohomish very often. Excuse me, thinking out loud for the road signs. So it appears we are in the correct lane. Perfect. FSD saved me a lot of time because I didn't have to sit in the left lane. So good job, FSD. We got in the left lane, it wasn't moving, so we got in the middle lane and saved some time. Alright, the next challenge, to stitch the three pieces of this video together. I'm not particularly good at video editing. I'm now learning the skill. It's a lot harder than it looks. I greatly prefer one-take videos. No editing required. Okay, here we go. When I saw this event was near a Home Depot, I got excited because I needed to pick up something from Home Depot. Unfortunately, I've completely forgot what I needed from Home Depot. So now I'm near a Home Depot and I completely don't remember what I needed from the Home Depot. Damn it. Wow, this is a huge Ford dealership. Okay, so it got us here, but we very much prematurely found the parking spot because I don't see where we're supposed to be remotely close. So let's go find Summit Brewing. Alright, there's a food truck. No parking. I see two C-Town trucks, so they're probably at the same event. So now we find parking. course, our camera is obstructed because of the rain. All right, fantastic. We have made it.